Okay, baie dankie Ciske and Gert for joining us today. I started in Afrikaans and then I realized I should be talking in English. It's so easy in Australia these days to just think like you're in South Africa often, because there's a lot of South Africans like you who've made the journey across. And thank you really for joining us today. Would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Yes. Hi, I'm Ciske, and this is my hubby.
Hi, I'm Gert.
And we are from Hartbeespoort Dam in the Northern Province, back in South Africa, yeah.
And we were just talking earlier about Gert. I'm going to start with val met die deur in die huis. I'm going to ask you, Gert, how do they pronounce your name here in Australia?
They call me Gert.
Gert, and you're very used to it by now?
Yes, I am. I've been working for an international company for a few years, so I'm used to being called Gert. It's almost been like almost now 17 years.
Wow.
So after a while, it sort of falls on your ear.
I guess the advantage of Gert is they can't really shorten that to anything else. You know, in Australia, how they take names and they just, whatever the shortest syllable that they can fit it in. Like for Chamonix, they say cha. They just go the CHA, cha or Sham. And yeah, for Gert, they can't really shorten it. So that's great. And Ciske, how do they pronounce your name?
Oh, well, I've had many pronunciations. Ciske and Ciske. They always go with Ciske. Am I right? So yeah, whatever. Sometimes if I book a pizza or something at Domino's, I would actually just say Maria because it would be easy.
I'm the same. I just use Chloe. Because nobody can get Maria wrong or Chloe wrong. I just use whatever's the shortest and the easiest. Anything you don't have to spell is the way I go with it.
Yes.
Then I just got to remember when they call my name, that's actually my name. It's my coffee. So thanks guys for being here. Tell me, how long ago did you move to Australia? What's your story? How did you get to be here?
Okay. Actually, in 2000, we got married in 2000. So deep down, we wanted to immigrate to Australia. Don't really know why. Back in those days, I think it was a new thing and everybody wanted to do that. And we thought it would be nice and good. We actually went to the embassy in Pretoria and stood in the queue. Got this thick book. Nothing was online. Got this thick book, worked through it, but in the end decided, nah, it's too complicated. We're not going to attempt. And then in 2014, close friends of us have made the announcement that they are coming to Australia. And we had our farewell barbecue at their house. And while we were talking about it, we told them that, you know what, actually we wanted to immigrate, but we never, pursued it, etc. And then they said, well, once you hit 40, it gets harder and difficult. So on our way back home, we looked at each other and said, if we want to do it, we have to do it now because we're not 40 yet, but we're going closer towards that. And we should pray about it and see whether this is a door that will open for us and if we should pursue it. And that was on a Sunday afternoon. I think Monday, Tuesday, both of us just felt comfortable that, you know what, let's give it a go. That was in January 2014. And then my mum, all of a sudden, also one morning just said, hey, you know what, I just woke up with this clear thought that you and Gert should take the girls and immigrate. And I was like, wow, that's like a real sign.
Yes,
My mom says that because they lived with us on the same property and I'm the only child. My brother passed away a few years ago. And yeah, so we just since then pursued that.
And which avenue did you come with?
Hey?
Which was it a skilled visa or was it a permanent residency? How did you apply? What did you apply for?
Well, at that stage, I was still working for an international company. So I said to Ciske, if we do this, I want permanent residency. So nothing else or nothing less would be good enough for me. So we applied for a skilled visa. I think it was 187.
Yeah.
And we started the process.
I must say though, It was easier for us to do it on our own and not pursue through an agent because of those friends of us, dear friends who's already gone through it, although they came in, I think, with a 487, I think, or 489, which was a bit different, but they guided us through the imi.gov.au sites and told us what to look for and, you know, coached us on which steps to take. So we just followed those boxes that you have to tick. And yeah, so that's how it all started. So it was easier because of their help. We were not on our own, and it was just a straightforward, he's got the skill, and we had to do the tests and meet the
What's
points.
your industry that you're working in, Gert?
I'm a qualified accountant. I'm CPA.
Okay.
So obviously I came over as a general accountant on that skilled visa.
Okay, that made it easier.
Shortage at that stage.
But there was a tricky part though, because he did his degree at an Afrikaans university. They had to find it in the archives to give us, to translate it into English and to give proof of the degree. And then he had to send it off to the CPA to get it verified. And then they came back and said, according to their standard, he needed to, you had to have 2 or 3 subjects.
I had to do 3 subjects because my degree was older than 10 years. And some new standards came in during that time. So they wanted me to do 3 subjects. So I think I enrolled in March 2015. 14. Yeah, 14. And basically did 1 subject a month. I just went to work, went back, sat in front of the books, and I knocked off all 3 subjects in 3 months.
My goodness. So it's all online studies, yeah?
Yep.
Well, he could choose whether he wanted to do it in South Africa via UNISA or any other uni. But we decided that we're going to do it through the CPA because it's already Australian approved and Australian thing. So he did everything then online, which made it easier, and then it didn't have to be verified again.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah, that's great that you could do. Was it expensive to enroll in the subject?
Yes. Well, I think in total, doing the whole CPA was about $5,000. So it's not cheap to actually get a verification and do all the subjects. Because I also decided once we arrived in Australia that I would do the formal CPA qualification as well, or accreditation. So when we arrived here, I spent another year in doing the professional levels.
Right. And that then gave you full accreditation in Australia?
Yes.
So what do you do now? Do you have your own practice or do you work for a company?
Can I quickly first intervene? This is a tip to anybody who's thinking of immigration. I think you will probably agree. When you come from a comfort zone and you are qualified and you sit in a position, don't expect to come to Australia and fit back into that high profile position. You have to start over. Initially, even with him finding a job, he was looking for the same kind of positions he was at and just got all those Dear Johnny emails, and it became disheartening. And it's not what you know, it's who you know. So we started speaking to people. We joined an Afrikaans church, lots of Afrikaans people. It felt like home. We had a home group. That was also part of our support structure. But then people started asking, what are you doing? Are you looking for work, etc. So actually he started working on a chicken farm, cleaning out chicken sheds, but was very proud about the fact that he earned dollars and the rand didn't, you know, deplete while we were waiting for a job opportunity. And then he got a position at a school. So you'll explain now further.
Yes, I basically started as an accountant at Kerry Baptist College, which is a Christian college.
Yes, a very good one.
And basically just worked my way up from there.
And you guys are just south of Perth, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So you started in Kerry Baptist College, and are you still with them, or did you move on to something else?
No, I'm still with them after 5 years. I'm now in a much higher position. So yes, I've just stuck it out with with them.
And the challenges.
They're a great school. They're a great group. So at this stage, there's no reason to look elsewhere.
And it's in accounting still?
Yes, it's still in accounting. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And Ciske, yourself, are you working, and did you work in South Africa?
Yes, I worked in South Africa. I was a real estate agent for, I think, over 12 years. And 2-3 years prior to immigrating, I was doing promotional corporate gifts and clothing. And then I also had a painting. I love painting and refurbishing furniture. So I had that on the sidelines. So when we immigrated, the initial idea was to be with the kids, but then I kind of thought I can do real estate again in Australia. I loved it and let me give it a go. So I started working with a real estate company, but it's actually not so easy, because once you start talking to the customer and you tell them about this area and this and that, they're like, oh, we grew up here. This used to be the swamp. And you're like, I didn't know that. So then I decided, you know what, no. And being away, working and having kids to settle in, whatever, I just thought, you know what, let me stay at home, be there for the kids, let them settle in. And then I started looking at myself again. So that's one thing though, part of immigration. I think the husbands, they have their job, they go on and they are busy and they grow. The children go to school, although they had challenges initially with the language and whatever, they make friends and they've got homework to do, they're busy. But if you're a mum and you stay at home and you come from South Africa, you feel sorry for yourself because you have to clean and iron and cook. We were so spoiled. So I decided, before I fall into that hole of feeling sorry for myself, and you know, I started painting again, and I was looking for old furniture. In Australia, they put it on the verge, so you can just pick it up. Yeah, so I started painting and refurbishing furniture, and then started selling it at markets again through South Africans, networking, and then make new friends. That helped me out of that hole, and it opened up doors. And from there onwards, got a job with South Africans at an electrical company, where I started off doing admin duties, and then later on actually health and safety. And then that was from the first year onwards up until last year, October. And then I had, my health declined a bit, and I found gut health products that worked for me. And now I am running my own gut health online shop, and I can sell in 4 different countries. So I'm working from home, and it's going well, and the whole family has settled in well.
That's good. Yeah, that makes it easier because you can fit it around your time schedule. And if you do want to work or don't want to work and go away on holiday, that's really convenient.
Yeah.
And in terms of settling in with friends and finding your feet, I know you mentioned you joined a South African church. How did you find it? How long did it take you before you felt like this is home?
For me, it was probably literally day one. I used to travel internationally quite a lot. So always, well, I saw a few countries, and I always said, there's so much out there, and I want to go out and explore. So I think when I arrived here, I said it's home. We went home 1 year after we arrived here. I think I was there probably a week or 2, no, maybe a week. And I said, I want to go back home. I don't know.
Australia's home now.
But yeah, I don't know for you.
I think, although we had our friends, which was familiar, and we had the Afrikaans speaking people around us in the church and the support, I felt home, I think, in my 2nd, 3rd year in. I know it was just one day, all of a sudden, I just went to the shops, and again, the chemists recognized me, and people at the shops, and I just thought, I feel at home. It feels as if I should have been here long ago. So it was, I don't know, it was like a light bulb moment. But yeah, we did have an easy, easy way in because of the friends. We stayed with them for a while, and they really helped us and introduced us to things and the ways of, self-service at Coles.
So are these the friends in South Africa that initially told you that you, so they came to Perth as well?
Yeah,
Yes.
actually, we giggle about it because when they came over, we were talking about Mandura, which is actually Mandra. But yeah, so yeah, they helped us with schools, and you know, it just the settling in was easier. The kids flourished from day one. Our 11-year-old was then 5 years ago is what? 6, 7. Anyway, and then she couldn't speak English. She refused to speak English because we tried coaching her beforehand. She's just like, no, I don't want to speak any cons. I was worried about her, but the first week or two when she started year 1, they were writing spelling tests, and my child didn't even have, you know, the English alphabet back then. So it took about 2-3 weeks where she didn't get good marks, but luckily she's a little fighter and she just wanted to get better, and we helped her. And then the schools are great. They always have a good support system as well. So then they picked up, and since then, I think the first term, everything just went well.
So one was 6 years old and the other child?
I have to remember 12 and 10.
There were 3 girls.
3 girls.
Oh,
yeah.
oh, okay. 3 girls.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
6,
So it's 3 girls, 6,
12.
12 and 10. And then they are now 18, 16 and 11.
Wow. And do they, you guys are Afrikaans. Do you speak Afrikaans at home and
Yes.
the children?
Yes. We speak Afrikaans and they reply back in Afrikaans. Amongst themselves, it's English Afrikaans, depending on how fast the conversation go or who it's about. Yeah, but we've also noticed in the South African church with all the Afrikaans speaking people, everybody speaks Afrikaans with their kids and they answer, but when the children are together in the youth groups and doing their Bible study, they speak full English with one another. That's just their lingo.
So you'd say your kids think in English now. That's probably more their convenient choice of language.
I don't know, yes and no, because they don't really, I don't think they think in English. They still think in Afrikaans. The Afrikaans words and the way they pronounce it, everything is really good. They can't write and type Afrikaans. The oldest sister, yes. The middle sister, I think also pretty good, but the younger one, her vocabulary wasn't built in Afrikaans. So she can speak and understand and do all the things, but to write it, she can read it, but to write and type it is challenging.
Yes, it's quite different to English in reading and writing, as you're saying. Yeah. And do you think they see themselves as South African or as Aussies?
I think at this stage they will probably see themselves as Australian. Definitely the youngest.
The youngest too. Yeah.
The oldest might still have
South African
roots,
very strong.
But even herself, I think, identifies as Australian at this stage.
And you guys,
when we went back, that was actually a good I won't say a test, but we went back a year after we moved here and then visited family, had a lovely time. But what happened was we left in WA holidays, but back in South Africa, it was still school for a week before they closed, or they just started school again for their new term. But then the kids went to school because Mianka was supposed to go to high school. So she wanted to know what high school would feel back there. And they went for a day with their friends. And although they liked it, they came back home and we were worried because that was actually, they could have loved it and then didn't want to come back home or the other way around. But then all 3 of them said, we're happy where we are and thanks for doing the change. They miss their friends. They really miss their cousins, miss their family. But school and the opportunities, they said, even now, that they are grateful and they love what they've got here.
In terms of schooling in South Africa, did they go to a private school or a public school? And are they in private or public now?
They were in South Africa in just normal
Model C
schools. I don't know what it's called now. And they were happy there in small schools. I grew up in a small farm school, so my kids were in relative small schools. The high school would have been their biggest school in their lives, which they missed out on. We couldn't afford then actually private schooling. It was just too expensive. But when we moved here, I don't know, we could afford it. I don't know, it just worked out well. So they've been in private schools since we moved here. And
Christian school, is that right?
Christian Africa, yeah.
So you would you be able to gauge the standards between what they had in South Africa versus here? Do you think it's the same kind of standard?
I think definitely back then when we moved here, I think the standard was on par. All three of our girls were moved up 1 year. So from where they had to be, according to the birthdays, they were all moved up one year group. So Mihanka finished last year at the age of 17. So I would assume that if her base were not strong enough, that she would have not made it. And she ended up with an ATAR of over the 90.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
and all three of them.
Yeah. So my view is that specifically looking at her, the base had to be really strong and solid to achieve that in 5 years later in year 12.
Yeah, so I would say the schools they were in, even though it was just normal Model C schools, was good. The English, they never really had bad marks. It was just, they could improve a little bit here and there, specifically vocabulary. But yeah.
And you guys are happy with Australia, or what's the best thing for you about living in Australia?
We love Australia. I love South Africa, and I will never forget where my roots come from. Don't get me wrong, but the opportunities here and the freedom. We love the outdoors. So I kayak every week. I love the waterways.
Wow.
There's so many rivers and canals and even the ocean. We walk the dog. I wish sometimes I had little kids still to enjoy all these beautiful parks and the playgrounds, because we were kids when we first saw them and had to try out everything ourselves. Yeah. And you?
Yeah, I think so. I think Australia is great. Just the opportunities that's here, the freedom. It's probably just feeling a lot more safer and secure than what we felt in South Africa. But the only thing I miss is family and the bushveld.
Yeah,
that's the one thing. That's one thing I miss. It's just going out there and maybe take a drive through a national reserve or something like that, and seeing the big five. In Western Australia, there's nothing unless you go out at night. So yeah, I think that's what I miss: the bush, the family. But apart from that, we love where we are.
You're citizens now?
Yes.
We became citizens
in
March this year.
Oh yay! How exciting!
Yeah.
So you've het nes geskrob. You found your spot. You're happy. Yes. You're in your own house, or are you renting?
Yes. Well, he's an accountant, so he made the calculations. We rented. We signed up for 12 months, which you can't rent less than 12 actually. And then we decided, but having your own property will cost you almost the same, slightly more due to the rates and taxes. We're gonna buy our own property and don't have that 3 monthly inspection.
Oh yes, that's annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying. So yeah, we bought our first home, or the one we live in now, a year after we moved in, just before we went back visiting family.
And what does your family say about the fact that you're now here? Obviously, you said your mum also said, oh, she thinks you should go to Australia. Good. How does your family feel about the fact that you're here?
My family is slightly different. I think they're all very patriotic. So they were not too happy with us moving here. I think they still feel that there's a lot of change that can happen, and they want to be part of that, especially my dad. So I think, I won't say they were mad at us, but I think they were disappointed. We obviously made a choice for our kids, and I wanted to make certain that they have all the opportunities that the world can offer them, without having to go through a system whereby the color of their skin or something like that might impact that decision. I just wanted to give them everything that is possible. And I think that's the biggest decision for me, was to make certain that they can go out and be whatever they wanted to be without having to ever worry about um,
Race or gender.
race or gender.
Yeah.
And I feel Australia gives them that.
Do you think you'll move anywhere else, or you're here to stay in Australia?
I think if you ask me, like I said, I love seeing different countries. I would probably move easily. But I think Ciske is different.
I love
has a good roots.
Australia. I really love it. In South Africa, since we got married, we moved every year almost. We were like nomads. I think the longest we stayed in one property was 5 years, and that was on the farm just before we immigrated. But it's been 5 years now in the same spot or same area. I love it here, but I would maybe move within Australia. I don't know if I'm ready for another country yet. I don't know. I found my feet here and I just love the lifestyle and everything. I don't want to do a move. I'll travel with him, but I think I like it here. Maybe where there's more mountains. I miss the mountain range.
Yes, Perth is fairly flat.
Yes.
Thank you so much, guys, for having a chat with us today. It's really great to hear your story and just hear how you've settled in, and interesting to, I guess, to find out that you've done the application process yourself, because more than not, we find that people use agents, and it's entirely up to each person. You could choose to use an agent, or you could choose to do it yourself. If you have any advice that you would like to give people who are considering maybe moving to Australia, what would you say to them?
Can I answer first?
Yeah.
I would honestly say, if you think about it, go for it. Pray about it. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not you and you alone that make decisions. It's in God's hands and his will. And for some people, the doors open because it's in his will. And sometimes it really just closed. No matter what you do, they keep on being a stumble block. But that also builds character. So pray about it. Have, what's the word? Get both partners in the same boat. I think that can also be challenging if the one wants and the other doesn't, because as soon as you end up here and things don't work out, it can cause the split. Consult your family. It has a huge impact on them as well. Although children don't always have a say in what parents do, it's good to have a chat with them and have them be part of it. And then another thing, network. Don't come here and sit in your own house and get stuck in your South African ways. You live in a different country. Embrace their culture. Remember where your roots are, but network, because again, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and it just opens up doors and it takes away the loneliness, and that way you can explore more because you've got people showing you around, helping you out. And I don't know, that was just part of our journey. And we want to thank God for opening these doors and being with us and helping us. We've really settled in very well.
Yeah, and I think for me, the most important thing is don't have a back door. I see a lot of people that have tried to move here, but they left some back door open in South Africa. We've made a choice not to do that. The day when we decided to come here, we sold everything, converted into cash, and we came beside. And I think it's important because you have to have that commitment to make it work. And if you have a back door, you're not committed. So I think that was one big thing for me, is that don't have a back door. And secondly, be humble. Most of us coming from South Africa would have been in senior positions. When you come here, they don't know you. They don't know who you are. They don't know your history. You need to prove that to them. And the only way to do that is to be humble and start where they give you a chance. And that might be at the bottom. But you'll be surprised how quickly you'll go up the ladder with just being yourself and just being
South African. Because they love the South African work ethic. And I think our morals and values fit well in with the Australian morals and values. Mostly. So just be South African, be unique, be yourself, but don't be afraid. There are lots of uncertainties, but where you currently stay, there are lots of uncertainties. So it's like getting married. you think the person you're getting married to will stay the same for the rest of your life. But if you get married and you think you're going to change that person or do things, it may disappoint you. And you get married not to actually get divorced most of the times. Not that I judge anything, but the idea is that. And it's the same with immigration. When you make that decision, go for it, all of you.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't look back.
That's very true. You got to put it all in. It's such a big decision. You might as well give it your everything. Otherwise, you know, it's always going to be half there, and then nothing is ever going to get your full attention. So thank you. Great advice. Really appreciate it. And again, thanks for your time and having a chat with us. I'm sure that there's going to be some of our viewers that's going to really resonate with your story and feel, thank goodness I heard from Ciske and Gert, and that's just given them a bit more encouragement to be able to take that next step and put their eggs in the basket and come over to Australia.
There's one tip though, that's the last one, sorry. You have to tick all the boxes. That's one frustrating thing. Sometimes it doesn't make sense and you feel like, why it doesn't make sense. It's Australian. You have to tick all those boxes and you have to do what they want you to do, whether it makes sense or not, or whether it's a double up of the same thing. Just do it. Don't let that be your stumble block. Just do it, because that will get you where you want to be. Don't be discouraged.
It might take you an hour or two, but yeah, that's right. Just put in the effort and get it done.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Have a lovely day, and hope to catch up soon for a coffee.
Okay. See you.
Take care.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.